bringing Miss Harjeet Kaur, a lifestyle blogger otherwise, someone who works with a lot of recipes, a food lover, a foodie. She is somebody who has not only explored her passions deep inside, she's also inspired her kids, and they've gone on to be pretty successful. One of them is in Mexico today, the other one is in Chennai. A son and a daughter, both doing great. But in front and and at the back end, what has gone is something to unfold in the next few minutes. But before I do that, let me also introduce me being the host, Sujit Lalwani. Right, I also have two amazing co-founders of HappyWise with me, which is Mr. Nirmal Jain and Mr. Pruthveesh, who are exciting co-founders at HappyWise. Mr. Nirmal Jain has had a history of 15 years of helping few hundred families with financial plans, something that most of us cannot think of, something that most of us cannot understand, because let alone, thinking of planning for somebody else, have we gotten a financial plan for ourselves, right? Imagine somebody doing it for 500 families besides doing his own. So that is Mr. Nirmal Jain for you, with a decade and a half experience of making financial plans for people. He understands income and expenses and cash flows and funds and equities like we probably do not understand ourselves. The other co-founder, Mr. Pruthveesh. Mr. Pruthveesh has been into this industry of financial products and has understood the array, width and breadth of all of it all, and has brought in tremendous advice for most people. Where most of us fail to invest right, he brings everybody to invest wise, not just invest right. So that is Mr. Pruthveesh to you. Mr. Pruthveesh, say hello. Mr. Nirmal, sir, please say hello.
Hello.
Great. So now, ladies and gentlemen, a little bit more introduction to our guest, Ms. Harjeet Kaur, a food blogger, a blogger, and several other things otherwise, which will unfold to you as a story now. We have a lot of questions for us, and we know once you watch this story, wherever you are in the world, you too will have a lot of questions. You might be thinking, we as founders at HappyWise got a lot of chance to talk to her and ask her questions. Would you also get a chance? So know this, once this video you're watching, you complete, in the comments column, wherever you are, feel free to shoot them, and we will see to it that these questions reach Harjeet. We don't know the medium in which it'll come back to you, but they will. Over to Nirmal sir. Mr. Nirmal sir, would you please roll the red carpet for us?
Wow, great. Actually, it's pretty exciting to ask my questions. There is a natural tendency when you meet someone like ma'am, where she's come from, her background, and the success she has achieved in spite of all the, pitfalls, you might say. So to give a head start, ma'am, if I could just ask you a very, very natural question, which comes to me straight away is, could you share your story to our listeners in a nutshell on how you navigated to get where you are currently?
Well, I will start with the word navigate. You used navigate. Oh. So I would say that I was thrown into the Pacific Ocean. I was directionless, clueless. I had to navigate my ship. Not even navigate, actually, I had to float, stay afloat. I was hanging on to every thin line that was an anchor for me, and that was how I started. I don't know if you've heard of this sentence that life actually happens to you, or hits you rather, when you're busy making other plans. My life was very cozy, very normal, happy homemaker, happy in my house, my husband, my kids. There was nothing else that I was lacking. I'm not saying it was perfect. I was saying it was normal. It has its normal ups and downs. But
exactly.
When I was 40, out of the blue, my husband just passed away in the middle of the night.
Yes.
And that's when it was as if somebody's just pulled the carpet from under my feet, and I was thrown into a deep pit. I couldn't even think of coming out because I didn't see any light. It was very dark and it was very deep, but I had to crawl out, literally. I clawed out, not even crawl. On my nails, I clawed out of that pit. I don't know how I did it, but I would only say that if you determine yourself and you think that you can do it and never give up, that's how. I was such a meek and mild person. I had no clue what the world outside was like. Living in a small city like Vijaywada, there are no opportunities. There are no jobs here available. And at my age, at 40, most doors closed because of my age. And I didn't know where to look for this thing. where do you start looking? No experience. I finished my degree after I got married, after my son was born, because I felt that maybe my kids won't get admission in school when they ask the parents, what are your qualifications? And if I say I don't even have a degree, then maybe they won't get admission. That's why I completed my degree like that. And then it was very difficult. I stepped out, kept looking, and then there was this opportunity from the Hindu newspaper invited me to write on a friend's, she recommended my name saying that I could write properly. So they just gave me a chance to write. And this was not paid. It was just voluntary. And that's how I started. I wrote for a couple of months. It was freelance. I had a column where I could write about dream houses in Vijaywada. I used to go to a particular house, interview them, dream houses, and then write about that. So this column ran for 2 years, just on dream houses. Every Saturday, my column used to come. And then after 2 years, it shifted to dream gardens. And then it became trends, whatever is latest, like that. For 6 years, I did. The Hindu gave me another opportunity there. When I went there, I was given this classes, personality development, special classes for children. They paid me 200 rupees for 2 hours class. So that is how I started my career, with random classes, maybe 3 days a week or 2 days a week, and that too a few months, because schools have vacations, schools have exams, they are not regular. So my classes were not regular. So that's how I started. And I did this for a year, I think. And then along with me, when there was no money coming in, my daughter, who was in the 10th, she was in class. She was
in class 10th.
Yes, she was in class 10th. She was the papa's pet. She didn't think that I mattered to her in her life. For her, mom was nothing, her dad everything. And she lost him. And in 10th, she started giving tuitions. I didn't even ask her to do it, but she realized that mom is not being able to manage. And she started giving tuitions. She gave 2 girls who really did well after that. And she became a topper in school that year. She was never a topper in school. That's the strangest part, was that if she had been a topper since childhood, I would say, okay, she did it. But she was always in the first 5, never top. But amongst the whole 10th batch, all the sections, in the girls, she was the topper. There was another boy who topped with just 1 mark more than her. And this is how the journey started. Then I went on to become a spoken English instructor. This was very satisfying for me. Teaching was very satisfying. And these classes were morning and evening. There were students from degree, even MCOM and all that, or IITs. They're giving interviews. They were just coming to learn how to speak in English. So there too, I was not given any syllabus, nothing. I was not given any guidelines. They just said, walk into the classroom and take your class. I just had to improvise on the spot. And so I did the spoken English thing, did that for 2 years. Then I had a job as a director of Maverick Enterprises, where we had this website called zarasuno.com, which was right up my alley. It was my most satisfying job, actually. Zarasuno.com is counseling. You could just give your questions about life, about career, about anything. And we had volunteers who were answering, and I was managing the whole show for 2 years. Then they wrapped up. They were from US, and they didn't think it's feasible, so they wrapped it up. After that, I was an admin at a mall. Imagine a mall that was being constructed. It is not at all my line. I was just asked to help there. So I went as the admin, and once the mall was coming to the final stages, I was doing the marketing, did the marketing for the stores, managed 4 stores there. And once that was done, I was at a very loose end. I didn't know what to do because the mall was ready and there was no work for me. I had to stop. But then again, I would say Providence or whatever, a windfall. There was this airline called Air Costa that started in Vijaywada. In a small place, an airline started, and I was the social media and communications manager there. I really enjoyed myself there. So all different categories. And in the meanwhile, while I was doing all this, in the middle or in the beginning itself, I sold garments from home, ready-made garments. I would get sell them. I did that. I started a grooming school. Just too advanced, I guess, for Vijaywada. If I had been in any metro, I would have made a success of it. I tried it for 1 year. It didn't work out, so I had to close down. And I was alone, actually. I didn't have anybody supporting me. My friends, they were there when I gave the plan. They said, okay, we are there for you. After the opening, everybody just deserted me, so I couldn't carry it on alone. These things need at least word of mouth in a small city. So there was no word of mouth. The students that I got, they refused to go out and say that they learned from me or there was a makeover because they didn't want to share that they had to go to a class to get groomed. That's a small city mentality for you. So it's a very small city. I've led my life here, 56 years in the same place, no exposure to the big cities, to the big bad world. But at 40, I was awakened. I was pushed into a mire, actually, a quagmire of, I don't know what, the strife and the troubles that I faced everywhere, not just work-wise, not financially, but emotionally. There was no family, there were no friends. It was as if I actually died with my husband. Just because I fall socially, my financial situation was not such that I could match up to my peers. Women have a thing, I think, that if you don't match up, you're of no account. So they just left me aside. And in a place where I was born, even if I wanted to go for a movie, I never go for movies. I never go out for dinner. I to go alone. Only when my daughter is there or my family is there, I go out. Otherwise, I just go out twice a month where there's a ladies get together, lunch. That's my social outing, or to the Gurdwara. And again, a religious place is such that people will just pinpoint and tell you what you're doing wrong. They won't say what you're doing right. They will just pinpoint. So I avoid doing that. So actually led my life alone for 10 years. I didn't know where those 10 years went. 40 to 50, I reached 50 and I realized, oh, I'm 50 now. And my daughter took me for a great vacation to celebrate. And that's when both my kids were earning. They became independent. And I could heave a sigh of relief saying that, okay, the bad time has just moved a little step higher I have climbed. Absolutely. And at that time, I had a bad back, really bad back. Health-wise, I had a spine surgery, which was very severe. Imagine lying in bed here at home, just looking up the ceiling, my legs were out of traction. There's nobody to talk to, nobody around me to help me with anything except the house help, of course. They cannot take the place of a family or a friend. But then that was how it was. And even during the surgery, the anesthesia didn't work. Can you believe it? The anesthesia didn't work. And I went through the whole painful surgery from the first scalpel touch to the end when they put the stitches and then they stapled me. I never knew that in surgery, after surgery, they staple you also. They stapled my back. So I knew every part of the surgery. Again, life gave me a bouncer. And I work after that because the doctor said, you're going to strain your back, so you sit at home. Now, sitting at home meant no income. How would I manage my finances? I went into really deep depression at that time. A few months, I just didn't know what to do, how to manage, clueless. I had no savings. When my husband passed away, sadly, no savings, just the roof on my head, started from scratch, zero. can imagine a zero bank balance, nothing. I even had to take a loan to buy a personal computer at that time because Hindu wanted me to write from home and mail it to them. And I didn't want to go to a cafe to mail it. So I took a loan and then bought a PC. So this is how it all started. And then suddenly I was just sitting and looking at my, wondering, what?
Which is where I wanted to share, Harjeet, that not only emotionally you have gone through so much, we can understand you have gone through so much financially. On the financially, I would say unplanned side, and since we come from this background of financial planning, it's pivotal for me to put this point across, and very fairly and very rightly you navigated even to this point. You know, just before I could actually ask you this question, but yes, I wanted to pretty much ask you the same thing. The amount of emotional turmoil that you went through, and you knew that there was so much financial turmoil as well. How did you manage it? I mean, you are throwing it, absolutely the perfect line on an angle, which we need to understand, because given the situation that a lot of women in our country, and even internationally, the people who are watching right now, can relate to this. That this is a situation for many, many people, not only emotional turmoil, but so much of financial turmoil, which can be avoided at sometimes we don't even know the hacks to avoid, So Harjeet, how did you deal with that?
I had to actually curtail all my expenses. Only what was necessary, that is what I used to spend on. My desires, my wants. I don't even remember those 10 years actually for myself. I just lived it for the. So I had to fulfill every wish of theirs. It's not easy being a single parent without any finances. And they were brought up in a different financial atmosphere, right? They brought up with everything, every comfort. I didn't want them to feel they are deprived of anything. So I deprived myself totally deprived myself. Even if my daughter asked for anything or my son asked for money, I would see to it that their needs are met. Somehow, my daughter, she was going for an internship to Ukraine. The stay was sponsored, but her ticket was 50,000. 50,000 was such a big amount for me. I was wondering, what will I do? So I had insurance money. I said, I never told her even once that I don't have the money, I cannot afford it. I said, no, you should go. You have to go. I felt that whatever I was deprived of, I should never let my children be deprived of anything. And I had to go to Hyderabad to get a passport. And that was another nightmare. At that time, Vijaywada didn't have a passport office. We had to go to Hyderabad, get a Tatkal passport, which was a nightmare. I had to bribe so many people actually to get the passport to her. Anyway, that was one incident. And my son was working for TCS, not much salary. He was in Chennai and he had to have an apartment and stay there and all that. So I had to support him also for quite some time. But that they started and they were fine. It wasn't like that. So gradually all this happened. And then when...
So did you know where your finances were spent, Harjeet? I mean, did you have an idea of what all financially, your husband was handling? Did you have an idea of all that?
I will come to that. I said that every woman in this world, whether she's a homemaker, whether she's working, or whether she's single, or whether she's married, she should know what her finances are. Financial
very true.
Extremely important. If I didn't have this insecurity about my finances, I would have been much better place than I was. I went through so much anxiety, so much stress. Imagine the insecurity when you don't have the money and you're thinking you have to pay the rent, you have to pay the power bill, you have to pay.
You had no idea about any of the financial instruments or the financial investments or the finances itself, let alone not having finances itself. Whatever was there also, you didn't have an idea about it?
I had never been to a bank. I didn't know where to deposit a check. I didn't know how to draw money from a bank. I had never seen the inside of a bank. According to my husband, if I needed anything, you need something, I'll do it for you. So for everything, I'll do it for you. So I never stepped out.
Also, ma'am, any knowledge about his business or business activities? Because you said you were quite well off.
Yes. Ours was a joint business, as you all know, how joint businesses are. So after he passed away, because I was not an active partner or whatever, I was deprived of my share.
Oh my God.
Actually, sidelined. I wouldn't say much on that. There's no point. So whatever it was, my husband would always say, Mehuna. I would say, just save for the children, save for the education, save for the marriage. I have seen my parents also came from a very humble background. I didn't see riches when I was young. So after I got married, I was in a comfortable position. Going from low to high is always very easy. But from a high to come down to a low takes everything.
Hats off. Very true. Very
I don't know how she manages 5 children. She raised us, educated us. In the minimum amount, she managed, but I was struggling. And I knew that saving is very important. And I kept stressing to him, let's save, let's do something for their education, for their marriage. And he just kept saying, the business is there, Mehuna, what are you worried about? Little did we know that.
Though it's right at some point of time, to take leadership and say that, you can rely, we're all there, but it's also very important, to ensure that everything is planned, structured, put into one place so that everybody, at least the key people in the family, have an idea about it. And helter-skelter finances, which are everywhere, are going to put your family members jeopardized in such a situation. I think that is a key thing, I'm able to understand, Harjeet, at this point, and a lot of our viewers right now are able to relate to that or can feel it, that once a jeopardized situation, God forbid, should it ever occur, you only wish everything was in one place to access. Wish I had the key to that locker, where everything was kept and I could access it, and we were deprived of it suddenly. So I think that is something that I'm able to draw from your story. And, I know a lot of people are able to relate that this is something that is missing even for them. So viewers, if at all you're all missing out that, you might want to keep a check. You might want to ensure you get your finances in one place. You might want to ensure, you get things planned. You might want to ensure, you get things structured, understand your cash flows. Why taking leadership is good. True leadership is in ensuring that when the leader leaves, everybody else is not jeopardized. So true leadership is ensuring that your dependents and the people who follow suit are in perfect stand and a position, in a very strong position, should you, be facing unforeseen circumstances. So we were discussing of how intense this entire situation must have been for you. People need to be financially planned. People should have accounted for their entire portfolio. They must have at least discussed as a family, because true leadership is always about ensuring your dependents, have enjoyed at least a similar, flow of life, right?
I think
some unforeseen circumstances happen. And Nirmal, yeah, you have something to say here.
Yes, surely. I think brilliant perspective about actually understanding and having everyone on the same page in a family. Yes, very true. Also, one more point I would like to add here. How I see things is once a person is a business person, right? The need of actually separating his entire financial life from his business to his family investments and income. I think that one thing which actually defines a financial plan as well. When we did a lot of our financial plan with our business clients, that is what we were able to actually drive in, talking about actually first getting your finances separated from the business and the family, right? The investments or the assets which we hold for a family have to be defined separately. I think that is one thing a lot of us overlook. I think similar thing
so
happened
I think,
with
Nirmal,
Harjeet
like,
ma'am.
like you, that's what the key takeaway is, from Harjeet's life is not only about the kind of terrific leadership as a woman that she has displayed. First of all, I definitely know that most of the viewers would agree that universe has blessed a woman to be able to produce new life. And not just that, so when your life shuts down, a woman has the power to spring back and rebuild her life, and Harjeet's story is proving that to us. But it's also teaching us, like Nirmal said, that when you have a business family in particular, right? It's very important to separate the finances. And for all the viewers in the world who might be thinking, no, I do not have a business family that still applies to me, I'm sure Harjeet can tell you with 100 times more confidence, irrespective has to balance, isn't it, Harjeet? What's your view on this? I mean, is it not
I think
important equally for all
that
of them?
financial security is imperative for every woman in India.
Yeah.
It is the main actually anchor for a woman, especially in India where we don't have social security. We are totally dependent on the husband, and the husbands never share anything, and the wives also don't ask him. I think there should be a proper dialogue between the two and sit down, chalk it out. This is what we have. This is where we stand. What are your goals? What are your desires? Let's both put it together down on paper, make a plan and share with both of us. Should know what it is, where I have an asset, where I have a savings, where I have some mutual funds or an insurance. I had no clue about anything. Even you won't believe, I used to have these kitty parties, and if I had 1 lakh or something, most women go and buy jewelry. I'm not much interested in jewelry. He would say, okay, put it in the business. He would take that also, and he would put it in the business. So I didn't have any savings of my own. At least I should have put it on my name or on my children's name. I should have done something like that. But I think it's a rude lesson for any woman. I wouldn't want any what I went through. And I would like to share this with every woman who is listening to me. Talk it out. I know most men will not sit down and listen to you the first time, but these are severe times. Corona is there. You're housebound. You're together. There's lots more dialogue going on. Talk it out. Chart it. Make a plan. Discuss what you have, where it is parked, where your money is going, where it's coming from. Make a plan and discuss. Both of you should know. Not only that, even if your husband tells you, okay, I have this. Suddenly something happens to him. If you don't have the passwords or you don't have the key to the lock,
Very right.
you cannot just sign and take away anything. Even if it is in your name, even after all the legalities, you have to know the details.
Yes.
It is
Exactly.
This brings us to a point, Harjeet, where not only has your story conveyed to us that even though generations have changed, a lot of listeners might belong to this millennial generation and maybe, a little beyond or a little around this contemporary times where women are a lot more independent than they used to be many years ago or a few decades ago. But still, what you have shared is so pivotal, even at this point, because it can always groom the partnership better. Of course, one conversation like this, one interview like this cannot chart the way forward for everyone. But like Harjeet said, viewers, it is so important and pivotal that at least the dialogue begins. So what I take at HappyWise Financial Planning, this initiative to bring Harjeet onto our story today, not only kindles the initiative that the dialogue must begin, but I think it's time to put out the hashtag out there that we will talk. Hashtag we will talk. I think that's something for each of you who are watching. If you are going to begin the dialogue between both of you, go down to Twitter
we will
and
talk.
put out a post
Let's
there.
talk. I think hashtag let's talk is better.
Please, the viewers, hashtag we will talk and hashtag let's talk. We will track both of them and we will ensure the conversation and dialogue won't stop, and only continue forward from here. Also, Harjeet, while we are talking this, even though times are changing, but your points are evergreen and they're never to die. It applies for a family, it applies for a business, it applies for an enterprise. But Pruthveesh, who has joined us, excellent co-founder in financial planning. His insights are so deep. He's so inspired. He's all waiting within, his energy to ask you a, question as well. Pruthveesh, over to you. You have something to ask. I can spot in your eyes.
Yeah. Harjeet, I just wanted to know one greatest lesson out of all that you have been through, and you have faced, that you wish to share with our listeners today.
As I already said, that has to be there is financial security. If I only had that, it would have made life very easy for me. People say, okay, your husband passed away, you have a big house. That's what they see. They don't know what's inside. The inside story is what families have to talk about. They have to sit and discuss. Discussion is a big issue. People don't talk about finances. Husbands don't share anything with the wives. And most of my friends I know also are in the same boat. They wouldn't know where they are standing. And even if it's metros, if you're working woman and you have your husband's finances, your own finances, not everybody has joint accounts. There are single also. But when a person dies instinct or just suddenly or anyhow, when a person dies, there's a lot of paperwork to be done. The banks are not going to hand it over to you just like that.
Yeah.
They will need your proofs, they will need your passwords, and now everything is online. So I think you have to be crystal clear about it and just have one place which both of you share, that this is what we have, this is what is there for the future. If something happens to me, this is how you will go on. Without a plan, just imagine. Nowadays, kids are saying like, live for the moment. It's okay to say, live for the moment. If you're financially independent right now, but then nowadays the lifespan has increased. I'm 56. I may go on to live for 85. I won't be working till then, will I? I need to plan for that.
Yes.
So when my life starts at 40,
Yeah.
I have still no saving at all. I'm still struggling. As you said, I'm a success story in making my life little better. Financially, I'm still where I started. It is still, I'm again restarted. Corona has put a stop to all my income. There are no homestays working right now. Hospitality industry has gone down the drain. So you have to have passive income. You have to plan what's happening in a dire situation, in an emergency, for health, for everything. Actually, you need finance.
So very, very responsible, statements. Very responsible statements, Harjeet, from you there. I think the Pruthveesh's question is answered with that key takeaway that you need one place where you have this entire thing as access, and that can only happen when you're fully planned. Harjeet, I would love to bring this to your notice. Maybe you do not know, and all the viewers who are watching might also not know. At HappyWise, we are very fortunate to have built one such, place where we can bring everything to one place. The whole thing is such a powerful technology tool that everything can be brought to a place. But yes, that's left to another time where our viewers can actually go down to a site and
yes, Harjeet ma'am, it's all about what you've achieved in life. I think is much beyond a lot of common people who could have achieved. So one very relevant question I was getting in my mind all the time is, you have a strong take on having more financial transparency between couples, right?
Yes.
So what does that mean, and how does it impact the dynamics? What I mean by that is, obviously you did not get a head start. For you, it was a big struggle because these dynamics were not held up with. So are there any dynamics where through our talk today, we are able to give people, budding youngsters and couples a head start of actually what could have been in your case and what can be in their case?
But in my case, if I had known anything about his finances, or we had planned together, I would have been in a happier place, isn't it? I wouldn't have struggled so much. And if I had been independent financially, then it wouldn't have been so bad. It would have cushioned life for me. Life has, it's not only, isn't it? It is emotional, it is societal, I would say, everything together. But finance is the core of it. For me, it was very difficult to cope, to think that my wallet is empty. I don't know where my next rupee is coming from and how I'm going to manage. The anxiety and the stress that gave me, don't go on my smiling face. I'm always smiling. I can smile even through my tears. I do that. Even if I'm crying and you say, why are you crying? And I would just get the smile back because that's my disposition. I am satisfied in very little. I'm not saying finances, I want millions. I don't want millions. I just want a comfortable life, a secure, comfortable life. I don't have any grandiose plans. I don't need a yacht or a Mercedes or a BMW. No such desires I have. Just a very comfortable, secure life where I can sleep peacefully and think that my next meal is, I can provide for my next meal, or I can provide for my old age. As I already shared with you, people ask me, how do you live alone? It has been now 14 years since my daughter left the house. My son had already done his engineering, so he was already gone when my husband was there. And she left the house 14 years ago. I have lived alone. There are many women I know who were afraid and wondering how I live alone. I have no fear. For me, fear is false evidence appearing real.
Wow.
False evidence appearing real. There's nothing to fear in this world, you know. People fear animals, people fear snakes, tigers. They're not coming to us. We may harm them and they are scared of us. So you can think of robbery. If there's a robbery, even if it is the man in the house, he could also be hurt. He's not going to save you from it. So fear is not there at all. The only thing that you fear in life is your own conscience. If you have been good or not, if you are answerable to your conscience and you can sleep well. But added to that, yes, one fear is my old age. That financial security of my old age is lacking. And that's a very, I don't know, it's a very sensitive issue for me.
Understandable, Harjeet. I think, very, very pivotal point shared there. I think that brings us to a place where we can understand that the key thing that you want to make as a statement to the world and all the listeners who are listening right now, that we need to plan for this old age which grips us. You said your fear of nothing, but what really grips you is the security in the times where you need it the most, and that's during your retirement. And for most, we take it very lightly, including us, maybe youngsters, this millennial, this generation people. We think, we're going to plan retirement as the time comes. But, Ajit, with your story coming into all of us, with we understanding the state of mind you are coming from, and what such mature and responsible conversation that you've made with us today, I think it only inspires us all the more. And I'm sure the viewers will agree. You can, I request you all to put in comments, if you relate to this and agree with this, that this is the time where we take this seriously. And from Harjeet's story, there's one key takeaway we take for sure, besides so many others that we are taking, is also going to be that we are going to make sure our retirement is as planned, so that we are not gripping ourselves with this one fear that can grip us all at some point in time in future. Like Harjeet said, there's no other fear. It's all false evidence appearing real, right? But the one thing that is real and it's not false, it's the fear of, security in the age where it matters you the most. And that can be overcome by, prudent planning well in advance. And there is enough going on around retirement planning, though we might be in India at this point in time where retirement planning is not taken that seriously, but the world is coaching us. We are learning from everybody. We as India of today are much more prudent. We are fast learning. We are quick in all of this. And we are going to learn, from people like Harjeet, very much in our country, who have so much to share with us and so much to inspire us for. Harjeet, I think it's been fantastic having you on the show. We could go on for endless hours listening to your show and the story that you have, because we know it will inspire us all the more, all the way, not only from making sure that we begin a dialogue at home, but also take responsibility of our own life and navigate ourselves the way you have done, or probably plan our retirement just the way you do, or do so many things that you've done so well. Stand up when we fall down in life, get back up, face everything fearlessly, not be afraid of anything, make sure that when life throws stones at us, we take that and build a mansion for ourselves, and understand that our expectations out of our own life are something duly responsible for our own, self. So we would want all our listeners, wherever you are listening, listeners, you might want to find Harjeet, you might want to find her blog, get in touch with her. There's so much that she would want to share with you, so much that she want to coach you about, so much that she want to, she could be possibly passing across to you as knowledge, wisdom, I'm sure none of you want to miss that out. So you can follow her across socials. She's, very much, available on social media in different ways. Her blog, worldsmithcore com is very much up and online and live. You can follow her not only for great food recipes, but also get in touch with her for great hacks, for a great planned life, and something, if you're in deep shit, you also know somebody who could help you just come out of it with the right frame of mind. So ladies and gentlemen, we will have a few concluding words from the co-founders that we have on board on our platform here. Then it's over to you, sir.
Yes, Harjeet has lately been our family, right? Since we met her. I think her perspective about what she has done in her life, how her struggles have been. I tried and narrated to a lot of my inner circles, and I think it was truly amazing what the inference they got out of it. And we are really excited to put this video across. I would also love to thank Harjeet ji, because her perspective of actually helping others with this story. That is the biggest thing here, because a lot of us struggle in life with a lot of things, but then are we ready to help, give someone a head start and tell them, okay, this is my story, you please take care. This will impact in such a big way. I think this has been brilliant, ma'am. Thanks again for that. I think we can't thank her enough. And truly, I would say that, we would pray and believe that all your future goals or your dreams will be even met with a greater deal of confidence. Thanks, team, all our HappyWise team. I think Pruthveesh, great perspective about a lot of points about the products, and for understanding Harjeet in a different way, so that you can actually advise everyone. We all can advise everyone in a much better way. Also, Sujit ji, for dreaming about having this show. I think the impact it can have, it becomes truly I wouldn't say multiplied, I would say multiplied to an extent where we could not believe. So I think these things will help in a great way. Thanks, Sujit ji, for that. Yes, over to Pruthveesh.
Yeah, you have put all the right words, and Sujit had concluded the entire discussion aptly. One thing I would like to add here with the conversation which we had, I just it made me think of one more hashtag, which says hashtag let your family know. And we already had 2 hashtags, so I just wanted to add one more, saying hashtag let your family know. In fact, we will definitely come with a document which we would call it as family FIDOC, which basically means financial information and documents organizer kit. Wow. So it is, yes, FIDOC. I repeat, it is financial information and documents organizer kit. So wow, we would like to bring this initiative.
FIDOC for you, FIDOK.
Yeah. So we would like to bring this initiative from HappyWise, and we want everyone to have this as a moment.
So also I think Pruthveesh, if I could add the energy and the direction what ma'am has given us, right? Yes. Puts us in a bigger responsible role today to actually advise our clients, better plan their finances, make them understand about financial planning with the entire family, right? True. And ma'am, one promise from our side, because you've been brilliant. This energy what you've given us will actually make us multiply our sort of deepening our relationship with the client, so we could actually make a lot of stories going forward where how we actually saved clients from the same problems which you faced.
That's what I want, to share it with as many people.
Yes,
definitely, ma'am.
When we do something in our lives, it doesn't mean you're doing it only for yourself. Only when you share, it multiplies.
Of course.
Exactly.
And great, even when you say, God will do something for you, God won't do anything. God helps those who help themselves. First, you have to take a step, and then God is there with you. You cannot say that God will do it for you. He's not going to do it. Take the initiative, never give up. Just keep on working at something and you will get it. That's what I believe.
Wow. Superb.
Harjeet, thank you so much for joining us on the show. A big thanks to our amazing co-founders at HappyWise, Mr. Pruthveesh and Mr. Nirmal. Thank you for joining and putting across such prudent questions and being around on the show, giving your intentful time, to this story. And I, at this point in time, Sujit, take leave from all of you all with Harjeet Kaur, Mr. Nirmal and Mr. Pruthveesh, only to join you back on another brilliant story at HappyWise sometime soon. Until then, I wish you all a very, very financially planned life and hassle-free life, wherever you are, in whichever part of the world you are. Even if you're not from India and watching this, please know the situations are the same. We are all in a borderless world today. Wishing you all a very financially planned life. Thank you, everybody, for joining the show. Nirmal, Pruthveesh, and Harjeet, thank you again. Thank you, Harjeet, once again, personally to you for joining us on the show at HappyWise Financial Planning. Thank you.
Thank you, all.
Thank you, Harjeet.